The lasagna hit Alex square in the chest, splattering rich tomato sauce across his crisp white shirt like fresh blood on snow. It wasn't just food. It was every unspoken word, every sidelong glance, every prayer his mother had whispered for him to change, exploding in a hot, cheesy mess right there on Christmas Eve. As the dish clattered to the floor, shards of ceramic skittering under the table like fleeing secrets, Alex's world didn't shatter. It ignited. He'd known this moment was coming, ever since he decided to bring Jordan home to their modest ranch-style house in Elmwood, Illinois, a place where cornfields stretched like judgmental fingers under the winter sky. But nothing prepared him for the raw fury in his mother's eyes, the way her face twisted from forced holiday cheer to something primal, wounded. "You think you can just waltz in here with him and ruin everything?" Margaret Thompson's voice cracked like ice under boots, her hands trembling as she wiped sauce from her apron, the one embroidered with holly leaves she'd sewn herself 20 Christmases ago. Jordan's grip tightened on Alex's hand under the tablecloth, a silent anchor in the chaos. At 30, with his easy laugh and steady job as a graphic designer in Chicago, he'd been the one to convince Alex that family deserved one last shot at truth. "We're in this together," he'd whispered in the car on the drive from the city, his thumb tracing circles on Alex's knee as the radio crooned Bing Crosby's White Christmas. Now that promise felt like the only solid thing left. Alex pushed back his chair, the scrape echoing louder than the crackle of the fireplace. At 28, he'd spent years folding himself into the shape his family wanted. The dutiful son who mowed the lawn without complaint, who nodded through sermons at the local Baptist church, who buried his first awkward kiss with a boy in high school under layers of denial. But tonight, with Jordan's presence like a shield and the weight of 1,000 hidden heartbeats, Alex felt the folds unraveling. "Mom," he said, his voice steady despite the sting in his eyes, "this isn't ruining anything. This is me. Finally." The room hung in suspended animation, the scent of garlic and basil mingling with pine from the lopsided tree in the corner, ornaments swaying gently from the draft. Margaret's husband, Alex's father, Tom, sat frozen at the head of the table, his fork midway to his mouth, a man who'd always preferred the silence of his garage tools to the noise of emotions. He'd aged into a quiet shadow, his once broad shoulders slumped under the flannel shirt that smelled faintly of motor oil, his eyes darting between his wife and son like a referee too scared to call foul. It had started innocently enough, or as innocent as these gatherings could be. The drive from Chicago had been laced with Jordan's stories. How he'd grown up in a bustling Atlanta suburb where his single mom baked peach cobbler and cheered his soccer games without question. How he'd come out at 18 and found the world hadn't ended, just rearranged. Alex envied that ease, the way Jordan carried his queerness like a badge, not a burden. "Your folks will come around," Jordan had said, squeezing Alex's thigh as they passed the "Welcome to Elmwood" sign, population 5,200, where everyone knew your business and judged it twice over. But Alex knew better. His coming out had been a slow bleed, starting with a furtive email to his sister Lila 2 years ago, now 24 and studying nursing in St. Louis, who texted back a single heart emoji and a promise to visit soon. His parents? They'd filled the silence with invitations to church potlucks and questions about that nice girl from work. When Alex finally mustered the courage last summer, over a lukewarm barbecue, Margaret had wept, not with acceptance, but with pleas to pray it away. Tom had mumbled something about loving him anyway and retreated to the shed. Since then, holidays had been minefields, navigated with deflections and distance. This year, Alex had drawn a line. "If they can't meet Jordan, they don't get me," he'd told his therapist in a session that smelled of chamomile tea and regret. And so here they were, 4 adults around a table groaning under the weight of turkey, mashed potatoes, and that fateful lasagna, Margaret's signature dish, layered with ricotta and love she'd always poured into food instead of words. The meal had unfolded like a scripted drama at first, Tom carving the bird with mechanical precision, complimenting Jordan's fine handshake when they'd arrived. Lila, home for the break, chattering about her dorm pranks to fill the air. Margaret serving second with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, her gaze lingering too long on the way Jordan's arm brushed Alex's when passing the rolls. Then it cracked. An innocent question from Lila. "So Jordan, how'd you two meet?" And Alex's honest answer. at a pride rally in Boys Town, screaming our lungs out for equality. Margaret's fork had clattered then, her face paling as if she'd swallowed glass. Pride, in my house. The words had tumbled out, laced with Bible verses she'd memorized like armor. Jordan had tried to defuse, his voice smooth as bourbon. Mrs. Thompson, we're just here to share the holiday. Alex talks about your cooking all the time. This lasagna sounds legendary. But the dam broke. Margaret's accusations flew. How Alex was throwing away the family legacy. How Jordan was a temptation dragging him to hell. How Christmas was about Jesus, not that lifestyle. Tom shifted uncomfortably, muttering, Maggie, let's not. But she whirled on him too, her grief twisting into rage. And in the heat, as Alex stood to defend the man he loved, the man who'd held him through panic attacks and whispered, you're enough, on nights when self-doubt clawed deep, she'd grab the casserole dish. One heave, and the world turned red. Now, sauce dripping from Alex's collar, he met her stare. The hook of that moment wasn't the throw, it was the fire it lit in him. For the first time, he didn't shrink. You can throw all the food you want, Mom. You can quote every verse in that book. But you can't throw away who I am. Jordan isn't a phase or a sin. He's my future. And if you can't see that, then maybe it's time I walked out that door for good. The words hung heavy, the clock on the mantel ticking like a heartbeat. Jordan rose beside him, tall and unyielding, his hand on Alex's shoulder a vow. Lila gasped, her napkin twisting in her fists, tears welling as she reached across the table. Tom cleared his throat, the sound rough as gravel. And Margaret? She sank in her chair, the fight draining from her like air from a punctured tire, leaving only the hollow echo of a mother who'd built walls to protect what she loved, only to trap them all inside. Outside, the snow fell thicker, blanketing Elmwood in white forgiveness. Inside, the real storm was just beginning, not of anger, but of the raw, aching work of unraveling years of silence. Alex's heart pounded, not with fear, but with the fierce clarity of a man finally claiming his place. This Christmas Eve, the lasagna wasn't the end, it was the spark. As the family sat in stunned quiet, Alex pulled Jordan closer, their foreheads touching in a brief, defiant kiss that tasted of salt and sauce. Let's get some air, Jordan murmured, his voice a lifeline. They stepped onto the porch, the cold biting sharp against heated skin, stars pricking the velvet sky above the glowing street lamps. Alex leaned against the railing, breath fogging in clouds, the weight of the house behind him like an old coat he was ready to shed. You okay? Jordan asked, wrapping his scarf around Alex's neck, the wool still warm from his body. Alex nodded, though his chest ached, not from the impact, but from the love he'd almost lost again. Yeah, for the first time in forever, I think I am. He turned, cupping Jordan's face, thumbs brushing over high cheekbones. Their lips met softly, a contrast to the fury inside, tongues tasting of cranberry and promise. In that kiss, under the twinkling icicles, Alex felt the romance they'd built in stolen weekends and late night calls solidify into something unbreakable. Back inside, voices rose, Lila's soft pleas, Tom's gruff mediation. Margaret's sobs, muffled but real. Alex lingered on the porch, Jordan's arms around him, watching neighbors' lights flicker like distant hopes. Elmwood had always felt small, its streets mapped with memories of playground taunts and church youth group crushes he'd never pursued. But with Jordan, it expanded to the vibrant pulse of Chicago's Lakeview neighborhood, where rainbow flags snapped in the wind and couples like them strolled hand in hand without a second glance. They'd met 15 months ago, at that pride rally Jordan mentioned. Alex had been there alone, a tentative explorer in a sea of glitter and chance, his sign reading Love Wins in shaky marker. Jordan, volunteering at a booth for a queer youth hotline, had handed him water and a sticker, their eyes locking amid the bass-thumping music. First time, Jordan had grinned, and Alex had blushed, nodding. What started as coffee turned to dates. Picnics by the lake, movie nights curled on Jordan's thrift store couch, bodies learning each other in the dim glow of string lights. Jordan had been patient with Alex's hesitations, the ghosts of Elmwood that followed him to the city. Your past doesn't define you, he'd say, tracing scars Alex didn't know he carried. The time his high school friend outed him in a locker room whisper, or the summer job where the boss leered and called him sensitive. With Jordan, sensitivity became strength, their love a quiet revolution. Now, as snow dusted their shoulders, Alex whispered, "I love you, no matter what happens in there." Jordan's smile lit the night, teeth flashing white. "I know, and that's why we're fighting, for us, for them, for the family we choose." They re-entered to a scene shifted. Lila had cleared the mess, plates stacked neatly, the fire stoked higher. Tom stood by the window, hands in pockets, his profile etched with the lines of a man who'd buried his own dreams for stability. Margaret sat at the table, eyes red-rimmed, a crumpled tissue in her fist. She looked up as they approached, the vulnerability cracking her armor. "Alex," she started, voice small. I didn't mean," but he held up a hand, gentle but firm. "You did, and that's okay. But it's my turn to mean something too." He sat across from her, Jordan beside him like a sentinel. The words poured out then, not accusations but truths long damned. How he'd hidden in plain sight, faking smiles at family reunions, dating women to appease whispers. How Jordan had shown him joy unfiltered, a love that healed rather than hid. How the Bible she'd clung to also spoke of compassion, of prodigal sons welcomed home. Margaret listened, her face a map of warring emotions. Fear of the unknown clashing with the fierce maternal pull. Tom chimed in haltingly, admitting his own silences stemmed from a youth spent suppressing questions about his brother, lost to AIDS in the 80s, a family secret buried deep. Lila shared stories from nursing school, patients who died alone because families turn away, her voice breaking on the plea for unity. Hours blurred, the clock striking midnight as confessions wove into fragile bridges. No grand epiphany lit the room like a hallmark glow. Healing was messy, like the sauce stains on a rug. But when Margaret finally stood, crossing to Alex, her hug was tentative, scented with lavender and lasagna, whispering, "I'm sorry. I love you, all of you." It wasn't perfection, it was progress. As dawn crept over the fields, painting the world in soft pink, Alex and Jordan loaded the car with leftovers and Lila's borrowed mittens. Hugs lingered longer, Tom's clap on Jordan's back firmer. Driving away, Elmwood shrinking in the rear view, Alex felt the knot in his chest loosen. The fight wasn't over. Conversations would continue, doubts resurface, but he'd fought back, not with fists, but with the unyielding truth of his heart. In Chicago, their apartment awaited. A sanctuary of posters from pride parades, shelves of books on queer history, the bed where they'd make love slow and sure. That night, tangled in sheets, Jordan's breath warm on his neck, Alex traced patterns on his lover's back. To new beginnings, he toasted with a mug of cocoa. Jordan chuckled, pulling him closer. To us. Always. And in that embrace, the real magic of Christmas unfolded. Not in gifts or carols, but in the courageous act of loving fiercely, flaws and all. The city lights of Chicago blurred past the car windows like shooting stars, but Alex's mind replayed the porch kiss, the hesitant hug, the way his mother's eyes had softened just a fraction as they drove off. It was past 2 a.m. when they pulled into their Lakeview parking spot, the snow here slushier, mixed with salt and the hum of nightlife spilling from nearby bars. Jordan killed the engine, turning with that signature grin. "Home sweet home. Want me to carry you over the threshold like it's our wedding night?" Alex laughed, the sound surprising him. Light, unburdened. "Only if you promise no lasagna involved." They tumbled inside, shedding coats and boots in a narrow hallway, the apartment's warmth enveloping them like an old friend. It was a third-floor walk-up, cozy in its clutter. Mismatched furniture from estate sales, a pride flag draped over the fire escape, photos of trips to Provincetown and New Orleans pinned to a corkboard. Alex flicked on the lamp, casting golden pools over the living room, while Jordan headed to the kitchenette, rummaging for wine. As Jordan poured 2 glasses of Cabernet, a cheap bottle they'd splurged on for the holiday, Alex sank onto the couch, the adrenaline crash hitting like a wave. His shirt was ruined, stiff with dried sauce, but he didn't care. "I can't believe I said all that," he murmured, accepting the glass. "I thought she'd disown me on the spot." Jordan sat close, thigh pressing warm against his. "You were brave as hell, and she hugged you back. That's huge." His fingers laced with Alex's, calluses from sketching pads rough in the best way. They clinked glasses, the red liquid swirling like secrets shared. Sipping, Alex leaned into him, head on Jordan's shoulder, inhaling the faint citrus of his cologne mixed with the drive's chill. "Tell me about your Christmases," Alex said softly, craving the normalcy of Jordan's stories to ground him. Jordan obliged, voice low and rhythmic, painting pictures of Atlanta winters. His mom, Dolores, belting gospel carols while frying chicken, cousins piling into the living room for dominoes till dawn. "She flew a rainbow flag the first year after I came out," he said, pride threading his words. "Told the neighbors, my boy's light shines brighter than any star on that tree." Alex's throat tightened. Dolores had visited once, a whirlwind of hugs and gumbo that filled their tiny kitchen, her acceptance a bomb Alex still chased from his own blood. "I want that for us," he whispered. "Not just tolerance, celebration." Jordan set his glass down, turning to cup Alex's face, thumbs wiping away invisible tears. "We have it. Right here." Their kiss started slow, exploratory, lips parting with the familiarity of lovers who'd mapped each sigh. But tonight, it deepened, fueled by the night's catharsis. Jordan's hands sliding under Alex's shirt, peeling away the sticky fabric, mouse hungry as if reclaiming stolen time. They moved to the bedroom, a trail of clothes marking the path, bodies colliding with urgent grace. Jordan's skin was a landscape Alex knew by heart. The constellation of freckles across his collarbone, the dip of his waist where fingers fit perfectly. On the bed, under the duvet stitched with tiny stars, they loved with a tenderness edged in fire. Jordan's mouth trailing fire down Alex's chest, washing away sauce stains with kisses. Alex arching, gasping, hands fisting sheets as pleasure built like a storm. "I love you." Jordan breathed against his thigh, voice wrecked, and Alex shattered, pulling him up for a kiss that tasted of forever. After, tangled and sated, they lay whispering into the dark. Jordan's head on Alex's chest, heartbeat a lullaby. "What's next?" Jordan asked, fingers doodling absently on Alex's hip. Alex stared at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. "Therapy for her, maybe couples counseling for all of us. And I think I need to go back. Not just visit, face it head on." Jordan lifted his head, eyes searching. "You sure? We don't have to rush." "I'm sure." The decision settled like snow, peaceful. Elmwood wasn't just pain, it was roots, tangled but nourishing if pruned right. Alex thought of Lila's fierce loyalty, Tom's quiet endurance, even Margaret's lasagna, a vessel for her flawed devotion. Morning brought gray light filtering through blinds, the city awakening with horns and coffee grinders. They lingered in bed, Jordan scrolling job listings for remote design gigs, thinking we could road trip more, hit up those queer film fests in Austin. Alex smiled, brewing espresso, the aroma chasing away last night's ghosts. But his phone buzzed mid-sip, a text from Lila. "Mom's a wreck. Dad's talking to the pastor. Call when you can. Love you both." The bubble burst. Alex's stomach knotted, coffee turning bitter. Jordan read over his shoulder, brow furrowing. "Give her space. Or, we go back today." "No." Alex paced, phone clutched like a talisman. "Tomorrow. Fresh start, new day." He dialed anyway, Lila picking up on the second ring, her voice thick with sleep and strain. "Alex, God, last night was insane. Tell me everything." He sank onto a stool, Jordan's hand on his back, a steady pulse. Lila spilled. Margaret had cleaned till dawn, muttering prayers, then collapsed into bed with Tom's arm around her, a rare vulnerability. At breakfast, over burnt toast, Tom had broken his silence. Boys happy. That's what matters. Margaret had nodded, tears splashing jam, whispering, "I pushed too hard. Scared him away." "You didn't," Alex said, voice cracking. "I'm coming back. With Jordan. We talk, really talk." Lila's relief flooded through the line. "Promise? And bring that cobbler recipe from Jordan's mom. Mom needs carbs and comfort." Hanging up, Alex met Jordan's gaze, the decision mirrored there. They packed light, changes of clothes, a bottle of wine as peace offering, Jordan's sketchpad for nervous doodles. The drive south was quieter, fields blank under a watery sun. Radio tuned to indie folk about lost loves reclaimed. Elmwood greeted them subdued, the town square's trees strung with lights that twinkled half-heartedly in daylight. Pulling into the driveway, Alex's pulse raced, but Jordan's squeeze said we got this. The door opened before they knocked. Margaret, apron fresh, eyes puffy but open. "Boys," she said, voice tentative, stepping aside. No embrace yet, but no barrier either. Inside smelled of cinnamon rolls baking. Tom's doing a peace flag in dough. Lila bounded from the stairs, hugging fierce, whispering, "Proud of you." They gathered in the living room, fire crackling low, coffee steaming on coasters. Awkward at first, small talk about weather, Lila's classes, but Jordan broke ice with stories of his hotline work, helping kids like Alex once was. Margaret listened, fingers twisting a napkin, then shared haltingly. Her own youth in the 70s, a college friend she'd loved in secret, lost to marriage and distance. "I buried it," she admitted, tears welling. "Thought faith demanded it. But seeing you, it stirred it up." Tom grunted agreement, revealing letters from his brother. Pleas for acceptance never answered. Regret's a heavy load. Don't want that for us. Alex's chest swelled, words tumbling. Gratitude for the home they'd given. Pain of the hiding, joy Jordan brought. "I forgive you, Mom, but I need you to see me, us, as whole." She reached then, hand trembling over his. "I will. Try anyway." Jordan's arm around Alex grounded the moment, their love a quiet testament. Afternoon unfolded tentative. Board games with laughter forced, then genuine. Walks in the snow, where Jordan and Tom bonded over football stats. Dinner was lasagna redux. Margaret's hand steady as she served. No drama, just seconds passed with shy smiles. Night fell soft. Alex and Jordan in the guest room, bodies fitting like puzzle pieces. "Progress," Jordan murmured, lips on Alex's temple. "More than that," Alex replied, heartful. "Oh." Weeks blurred into a tentative rhythm after that Christmas Eve detonation. Alex and Jordan shuttled between Chicago's vibrant chaos and Elmwood's quiet fields, weekends stitched with video calls and care packages. Margaret's jams alongside Dolores' spice blends, a culinary détente. Therapy entered the mix. Family sessions in a Peoria office, beige walls echoing with unpracticed honesty. Margaret arrived armored in pearls, but her walls crumbled under Dr. Ellis's gentle probes, revealing fractures Alex had glimpsed but never named. One session, mid-February, snow crusting the windows. Margaret confessed the root. Her father's rejection of her uncle, a confirmed bachelor who drunk himself silent in the 50s. "I swore I'd protect you from that loneliness," she said, eyes on Alex. Twisted it into control. Alex nodded, throat tight. "You did protect me, with love, even if it hurt. Now, let me protect myself." Jordan, ever the bridge, shared his mom's mantra, "Love, don't ask permission." Tom, thawing like spring earth, admitted his silence's masked fear, of losing the son he'd coached through Little League, of a world shifting under his feet. Lila thrived as mediator, her nursing rotations fueling empathy. "Families are like bodies," she'd say over post-session dinners. "Sometimes you gotta cut out the infection to heal." Back in the city, their life pulsed with normalcy reclaimed. Alex, a 28-year-old marketing coordinator for a nonprofit aiding LGBTQ+ youth, threw himself into campaigns, billboards of smiling couples like them, workshops on coming out scripts. Jordan's designs graced those ads, his talent blooming in freelance gigs that paid for weekend getaways. A cabin in Door County, where they hiked bluffs hand in hand, Lake Michigan's waves crashing like applause. Romance wove through the mundane, lazy Sundays with pancakes and podcasts on queer icons, like Audre Lorde or James Baldwin. Evenings at Sidetrack, dancing under neon lights, bodies sinking to pulsing beats. One night, post-bar, tipsy on gin and giggles, Jordan dropped to one knee in their hallway, ring box from a vintage shop glinting. "Marry me? Not for papers, for the promise." Alex's yes was a sob laugh, pulling him up for a kiss that sealed fates. They celebrated with takeout Thai, calling families at dawn. Dolores hooped through the line. Lila squealed plans for a joint wedding. Margaret's paws stretched, then softened. "I'm happy for you. Truly." But cracks lingered. Spring brought Lila's graduation, a milestone shadowed by Margaret's flare-up. At the ceremony in St. Louis, amid mortarboards and cheers, she cornered Alex in the hotel lobby. "Marriage? To him? What about kids, legacy?" Jordan, overhearing from the elevator, stepped in calm. Legacies in love, Mrs. Thompson. Not bloodlines. She bristled, but Alex's steady gaze held. Mom, we're building our family, maybe fostering one day, but on our terms. The tension simmered through the banquet, toasts clinking awkward. Tom pulled Alex aside later, breath beery. She's trying, son. Give her time. I am, Alex replied, clapping his shoulder. But time's a two-way street. Back in Chicago, the proposal high faded into planning jitters. They dreamed big-small, a backyard ceremony in Elmwood, blending worlds. Rainbow arches amid cornstalks, Dolores gospel choir with Jordan's indie playlist. Invites went out, RSVPs trickling. Lila as best woman, Tom's grilled duty, Margaret's yes scrawled tentative. Summer heat wave hit, sticky and insistent, mirroring the build-up. Alex's job ramped up. A Pride Month push that had him burning midnight oil, Jordan sketching till fingers cramped. Romance adapted. Rooftop picnics with fans whirring, showers turning steamy with more than soap. One sweltering July eve, after a fundraiser where Alex spoke on family reconciliation, words drawn from his own scars, Jordan waited in the wings, eyes proud. Homeward, in the L's rattle, he murmured, "You're changing lives, babe." Alex blushed, head on his shoulder. Starting with mine. August brought the bachelor party. Jordan's crew from Atlanta flying in, a low-key lake house bash with fishing and fireflies. Alex's was urban. Lila and queer pals bar-hopping Boys Town, shots named after drag queens, laughter healing old wounds. Then, 2 weeks out, the call came. Margaret, voice quavering. "Alex, I need to talk." About the wedding. His stomach dropped. Jordan, eavesdropping, mouth conference? Alex nodded, heart hammering as he drove south alone. Jordan's call me after, a talisman in his pocket. Elmwood shimmered under harvest moon, crickets coursing doubts. Margaret met him on the porch, tea steaming, face lined deeper. "Sit," she said, patting the swing. Words tumbled. Her talks with the pastor, a progressive one who'd shared stories of queer congregants thriving in faith. Books borrowed from the library, God and the Gay Christian, pages dog-eared. "I was wrong," she whispered. "Scared you'd burn in hell. But hell's the isolation I almost forced on you." Tears pricked Alex's eyes. "Mom, wait." She pressed a box into his hands, vintage cufflinks, his grandfather's, engraved with intertwined vines. "For your vows." And this. A letter, folded crisp. Apologies inked heartfelt. Promises to march beside him at the next Pride if he'd have her. He hugged her then, fierce, the swing creaking under release. Tom joined, arms enveloping, gruff, "Proud of you, kid." Driving back, windows down, wind whipping catharsis. Alex called Jordan, voice breaking on joy. "She's in. All the way." The wedding dawned crisp September. Elmwood's fields gold-fringed. The backyard bloomed. Chairs in rows, aisle of wildflowers, arch-draped rainbow and ivy. Guests mingled. Dolores trading recipes with Margaret, Tom grilling with Jordan's cousins, Lila fussing boutonnieres. Alex waited in the guest room, suit tailored sharp, nerves electric. Lila slipped in, eyes misty, ready to make history. Always. The march began, guitar strumming at last. Jordan at the arch, handsome in navy, smile blinding. Vows exchanged under sun-dappled leaves. Jordan's, "You taught me home is a person." Alex's, "You showed me love's the fight worth winning." Rings slid on. Cheers erupted. Margaret's tissue dabbing prominent. The reception pulsed. Toasts roasting lovingly. Dances blending Motown with two-step. Margaret pulled Alex aside mid-waltz, whispering, "Beautiful. Like you." Night fell starry. Cake cut amid laughter. First dance slow under strings. As guests thinned, Jordan and Alex slipped away. Car packed for a Smoky Mountains honeymoon. Cabins and creeks calling. In the driveway, families converged. Hugs, promises of visits. "Dolores, y'all come south soon." Margaret lingered, hand on Alex's cheek. "Thank you for fighting back. For us." He kissed her forehead. "Love you, Mom." Driving into twilight, Jordan's hand in his, Alex glanced back. Elmwood fading, but tethered now by threads of grace. The road ahead curved endless, but together, it felt like flight. Honeymoon haze lingered like honey on skin. The Smokies' misty trails where they'd hiked hand in hand, pausing for kisses amid rhododendron blooms. cabin nights with firelight flickering over bare bodies, lovemaking lazy and deep, whispers of futures painted vivid. Back in Chicago by October's chill, reality wrapped gentle. Mail piled, fridge sparse, but their rings caught light like promises kept. Work beckoned. Alex pitching a new initiative on intergenerational queer support, inspired by Margaret's arc. Jordan landing a book cover gig for a memoir on Black LGBTQ plus trailblazers. Evenings wove domestic magic. Grocery runs debating quinoa versus cornbread. Movie marathons with popcorn fights. Jordan's head in Alex's lap as credits rolled. Family ties strengthened tentative. Weekly calls with Elmwood. Lila's med school grind. Tom's shed projects. Margaret's volunteer shift at the food pantry. Met a young man there. Reminds me of you. Gave him my number for the hotline. Pride swelled in Alex. Texts flying emojis of hearts and rainbows. Thanksgiving loomed, first as husbands. They hosted a fusion feast in their apartment. Jordan's collards and cornbread. Margaret's lasagna recipe tweaked vegan. Dolores zooming blessings from Atlanta. Tom carved via video, grumbling at pixels. Lila arrived bearing pies, crashing on the couch post-meal for board games that dissolved into hysterics. But under joy, undercurrents stirred. December crept, Christmas Eve's anniversary, a shadowbox memory. Alex dreamed of sauce splatters, waking sweat slick to Jordan's soothing murmurs. Ghosts, he admitted over breakfast, bagel crumbs scattering. Worried it'll repeat. Jordan cupped his face, thumbs steady. It won't. We're different now, stronger. They planned a quiet holiday, City Lights tour, then Elmwood for Eve. Margaret insisted, my lasagna awaits. No throwing this time. Laughter eased the knot, but Alex packed extra grace. The drive south mirrored last year's, but skies cleared blue, radio syncing to their playlist. This will be an everlasting love, crooning hope. Elmwood twinkled festive, wreaths on doors, the square's tree aglow. Pulling up, lights spilled warm. Inside, scents of pine and baking wrapped welcome. Margaret hugged first, fierce, lingering, new necklace glinting, a rainbow pendant, her quiet flag. Miss you boys. Tom clapped backs, handing Jordan a beer. Lila, home from rotations, squealed over gifts. Custom mugs etched world's okayest nurse. Dinner unfolded seamless. Table laden, grace said inclusive, for love in all forms. Conversation flowed. Politics skirted, stories shared. Jordan's holiday client, a trans kid finding voice. Alex's workshop triumph, fathers reconciling like theirs. Margaret listened, chiming, faiths evolving. Pastor says God's bigger than boxes. Postre, they gathered treeside, ornaments heavy with history. Alex's lopsided star from kindergarten, Jordan's first pride bauble. Margaret strung a new one, 2 intertwined silver rings, whispering, for your forever. Midnight neared, fire dying to embers. Alex stepped out for air, porch creaking under boots, stars sharp overhead. Jordan followed, arms encircling from behind. Penny, just grateful. Alex turned, lips brushing. For the fight that got us here. Their kiss deepened, snowflakes melting on lashes, hands wandering under jackets. Heat building till laughter broke it. Inside, Romeo, Jordan teased. Family awaits. Re-entering, they caught Margaret and Tom swaying slow to carols, Lila snapping pics. The night wove on, Coco spiked, tails tall, until yawns won. Guest room cocooned them, bodies familiar yet electric. Jordan's mouth mapped collarbones, fingers deft on buttons. My husband, he breathed, reverent, as Alex gasped, arching into touch. Lovemaking unfolded worshipful. Slow thrusts, shared breaths, climax crashing mutual. Afterglow tangled in whispers. Best Christmas yet, Alex murmured, tracing Jordan's ring. Dawn brought pancakes, Tom's specialty, lopsided but loved. Farewells hugged tight, Margaret slipping a tin, lasagna for the road. Eat warm. Chicago welcomed gray-skied, but home glowed brighter. New Year's they rang in rooftop, champagne pops, city fireworks blooming like affirmations. Resolutions? Simple. More adventures, deeper roots. Spring bloomed, reconciliations. Margaret visited solo, train to Union Station, wide-eyed at the bean, then their apartment where she oohed over art, helped chop veggies for stir-fry. "Proud," she said over wine, unprompted, "of your courage." Tom's turn came Father's Day. Fishing trip with Jordan, lakeside beers loosening tongues on lost dreams, mending fences. Lila's wedding shower that summer, bridesmaid duties for Alex, tucks in tears as she vowed to her college sweetheart, a quiet nod to legacies rewritten. Anniversary approached, 1 year post-vows. They recreated Smokey's, same cabin, but with additions, sketchpads for Jordan's landscapes, journals for Alex's reflections. Trails led to overlooks, hands linked, rings sun-kissed. One evening, porch swing creaking, Jordan pulled an envelope, adoption agency packet. "Thought we could look?" When ready, Alex's heart soared. "Yes. Start small, fostering first. Whatever pace." Kiss sealed it, future tangible. Back home, life's tapestry richened. Promotions, gallery shows for Jordan, family reunions blending South and Midwest. Barbecues where Dolores and Margaret swapped pie crust secrets, toasts to chosen and given kin. 2 years married, Christmas Eve circled again. Elmwood called, now tradition. The lasagna emerged steaming, served with toasts. No throws, only cheers. As snow fell soft, Alex watched his mother laugh at Jordan's jokes. Tom clink glasses. Lila scheme holidays ahead. In that moment, the hook of years past transformed. Not explosion, but ignition, a family forged in fire, loving louder for the burn. Time's river carved deeper channels, years folding like well-worn pages. Alex and Jordan's third anniversary dawned with balloons from Lila, helium hearts bobbing in their now-expanded apartment, a second bedroom primed for dreams deferred no longer. The fostering license arrived that spring, paperwork a victory lap after home studies and classes that bared souls. Their first placement, Mia, 12, wide-eyed foster kid with braids and a backpack of dog-eared fantasy novels, placed after her mom's overdose. She arrived wary, clutching a stuffed dragon, eyes scanning for traps. Jordan knelt, offering cocoa. Alex shared Percy Jackson tales, drawing her out slow. Nights tested, nightmares waking all, Mia's screams echoing doubts. But mornings mended, pancake stacks, Jordan's silly voices for bedtime stories, Alex's patient talks on identities fluid as hers. Margaret visited, cookies in hand, her initial stiffness melting into grandma hugs, reading aloud with theatrical flair. "Like having a piece of you," she told Alex one afternoon, Mia napping nearby. "Fills the what-ifs." He squeezed her hand. "You get it now." Summer brought permanence. Mia's adoption finalized in a courtroom-bathed sun, her new name. Mia Hayes Thompson, bridging worlds. Cheers erupted, Dolores whoop loudest, Tom's tissue discreet. Post-ceremony picnics sprawled park green, kites soaring, laughter-free. Parenting reshaped them. Alex juggled work calls with school runs. Jordan's designs now interspersed with glitter crafts. Date nights adapted. Babysitters Lila or Margaret, stolen hours at jazz clubs where hands linked under tables. Kisses tasting of grown-up longing. Challenges crested. Mia's questions on why two dads met with books and honesty. Playground taunts Alex mediated with school grace, channeling his own scars. Jordan's late nights strained, but talks rebuilt. We're a team, reaffirmed in bed, bodies reconnecting fears. Elmwood holidays evolved tradition. Christmas Eve's now quartet. Mia's out first snow, decorating gingerbread houses that collapsed giggly. Margaret's lasagna fed multitudes. Recipes shared with Dolores via video. A virtual potluck bridging miles. One eve for years post-splatter, Mia piped. Tell the story again. The magic throw. Alex chuckled, Jordan's arm warm. Margaret blushed, but joined. Once Grandma got scared and tossed dinner at Daddy Alex. But he stood tall, and it taught us love's messy but mighty. Mia nodded sage. Like my dragon fights monsters. Tom grunted approval, carving turkey. Lila, med resident now, toasted to fights won with heart. New Year's, they escaped, kid-free weekend in Napa, vines heavy with promise. Vineyard tours, wine tastings, sunset toasts, to more, Jordan said, clinking. Nights, vineyard view, love-making urgent, rediscovering amid years' layers. Back, life pulse fuller. Mia thrived. Soccer star, art club whiz, Jordan coaching, Alex cheering sidelines. Family swelled. Lila's twins born, Aunt Alex and Uncle Jordan doting. Margaret's book club delving queer lit, her aha text sparking pride. Crisis hit autumn, 5th year. Jordan's diagnosis, routine check, flagging prostate shadow. Biopsy wait stretched eternal. Nights huddled, fears voiced raw. If Jordan started, Alex silencing with kiss. No ifs. We're fighters. Margaret drove up unasked, lasagna bubbling car warmer, staying to cook, hold Mia through confusion. Men in our family endure, Tom said over chess, code for we're here. Clear scan came Christmas week, benign, shadows banished. Relief, crash title, tears souther than sauce. Eve gathering turned weep laugh fest, Mia's, yay, Daddy Jordan, hug, epicenter. Post-holiday, resolve hardened. Jordan advocated panels on queer health, Alex amplifying via nonprofit. Mia, inspired, wrote school essay, My Dad's Taught Me Brave. Anniversaries layered. 7th, vow renewal lakeside. Mia flower girl, families blended seamless. Margaret officiated amateur, voice steady. In sickness, health. In lasagna, love. Years 10, Elmwood house expanded. In-law suite for Margaret widow gentle. Tom gone sudden, heart quiet mid-garden. Grief shared, his tools Jordan's now, shed sanctuary. Mia, teen fierce, navigated crushes, first girl kiss of pride. Alex's advice echoing his own. Heart leads but head guards. Jordan's BU, unapologetic. Grandkids came, Mia's partner, bio kid, then adopted sib. Christmases multiplied, chaos joyful. Toddlers chasing ornaments, Margaret's stories enthralling. Lasagna legacy enduring. One eve, gray-haired Alex reflected portrayal, Jordan beside, hands veined but clasped. Fought good, huh? Jordan grinned, lines crinkling. Best battle, worth every splatter. Inside, laughter spilled, generations woven, love's thread unbreakable. The hook that started all, not end but epic beginning. Decades danced on, seasons cycling like prayers answered slow. Alex and Jordan, silver-threaded now, navigated empty nest when Mia flew. College in Boston, majoring psych, minoring activism, her thesis on familial queer trauma, a nod to roots. Visits home brimmed. Dorm halls, care packages of Jordan's cookies, Alex's pep talks lace pride. Their life downshifted graceful. Semi-retirements. Alex consulting nonprofits. Jordan teaching design workshops. Easel alive with mentor passion. Travels beckoned. Europe rambles, hand-holding Paris bridges. Asia treks, Bangkok's temples whispering resilience. Health humbled. Alex's knee surgery post-hike. Jordan's glasses for fine lines, but intimacy endured. Morning slow, touches reverent, bodies maps of shared history. Still my favorite view. Jordan quipped, tracing Alex's laugh lines. Family orbited close. Mia's wedding lakeshore, her wife Elena, fiery Latina artist, fitting seamless, vows echoing theirs. Grandkids, Sophia, 8, tomboy inventor. Luca, 5, budding chef with Jordan's flair. Christmases Elmwood-centric, now great-grandma Margaret's domain till she passed serene. 92, bedweed by kin, last words a loved one. Her absence ached, but legacy bloomed. Pantry donations in her name, rainbow cookbook self-pubbed, lasagna recipe forward by Alex, from throw to treasure. Tom's shed became community space, queer youth center annex, tools repurposed for builds, stories shared walls. Lila's practice, specialized geriatric care, her kids, Alex's great nieces, summering, learning Uncle Alex's fight tale. Crisis revisited subtly. Jordan's heart murmur, monitored mild, but shadowed anniversaries. 50th Christmas Eve, snow scarce, but spirit thick, they gathered reduced but rich. Mia's family, Lila's, Dolores ancient but Zoom vibrant from assisted living. Table grown familiar, lasagna steaming, Mia carving turkey Elena style. Toasts circled, Sophia's to dragons defeated. Luca's garbled cheer. Alex rose last, voice gravel honey. 50 years since a dish flew and a sun stood. That fight sparked this, us unbreakable. Jordan's eyes misted, hands squeezing. to fighting on. Post-dinner, grandkids abed. Adults porch clustered, stars winking. Mia sidled Alex. Your story saved me, Dad. Inspire my work, therapy for rejectors. Pride swelled. Full circle. Dawn Drive, Chicago Ward. Jordan napping passenger. Alex reflected rear view. Elmwood distant but heart home. Apartment awaited. Walls photoed full. Weddings, births, trips. Rings dulled but dear. Evening, fire crackling. Jordan sketched Alex dozing. Lines tender. Muse, eternal. Alex stirred, pulling him close. Partner, eternal. Kiss lingered, soft as snowfall. Bodies aligning familiar. No rush, just presence, climax, quiet wave. New Year's, they volunteered hotline. Voices guiding young echoes of Alex's youth. Resolutions? Legacy. Mia's center expansion. Scholarships in Margaret's name. Spring brought Luca's school play. Jordan costume dragon. Alex prompted lines. Laughter homeward. Nailed to roar. Summer reunion Atlanta. Dolores gravesite picnic. Stories swapping. Jordan's tears on Mahmud love this brood. Fall harvest. Elmwood fair. Pie contests. Mia judging. Alex and Elena dancing hay bale waltz. Winter wrapped. 50th proper. Vow renewal intimate. Lakeside dusk. Mia officiating. Grandkids ring bearers. Words updated. Through storms and sauces, I choose you anew. Reception bonfire. Esmore's sticky, song strumming, at last encore. Margaret's pendant past Sophia, where fears, sweetie. Years 60. Health faltered. Alex's hip, Jordan's arthritis, but adaptive. Walks slow, but talks deep. Mia's book launched, Sauce and Salvation. A Queer Family's Redemption. Alex co-author, forward heartfelt. Christmases simplified. Core crew, lasagna frozen till thawed stories. One eve, snow finally falling. Alex whispered Jordan, frail but fierce. Best fight ever. Jordan smiled, breath shallow. Winning still. His passing came gentle, spring dawn. Alex holding hand, Mia near, Luca's drawing bedside. Dragon guarding hearts. Grief title, but Boyd kin. Memorials blending sermons and celebrations. Jordan's ashes scattered smokies. Vows echo. Alex endured, hollowed, but habituated. Mornings coffee solo, evenings Mia's calls, grandkids chaos. Center thrived, hotline hummed his voice recorded. You're enough. Fight kind. 70 loomed. Alex reflective. Memoir penned, splattered but standing, talks circuit bound, inspiring elders reconciling late. 80th Christmas. Wheelchair bound but spirited. Surrounded Sophia's teens, Luca's tots. Lasagna served, story retold. Grandpa's throw that started magic. Laughter rang, Alex's eyes on window snow, Jordan's spirit winking stars. The hook? Eternal flame, illuminating paths behind and beyond. Legacy's echo chamber hummed long after Alex's 90th snows. Mia, gray-streaked matriarch, curated archives. Letters boxed, videos digitized, the lasagna dish enshrined museum case at the center, plaque rye, catalyst of courage. Sophia, nonprofit CEO, expanded global. Chapters in Atlanta, St. Louis, ripples from one Elmwood night. Luca, chef celebrated, cookbook empire. Hearts on a plate, forward Alex's ghost-written via Mia. Love seasons all. His restaurants queer-owned, staff family-chosen, holidays feeding hundreds, lasagna staple. Lila's line healers. Her daughter psych PhD, specializing reconciliation. Son nurse, volunteering hotline. Great-grandkids queried tales. Great-great-grandpa Alex's sauce war. Answered animated, devices glowing old clips. Wedding dances, foster hugs, Jordan's grins. The Center Evolve Hub. Annual Fight Back Fest. Pride marches, lasagna luncheons, panel survivors. Margaret's Rainbow, worn volunteers. Tom's tools build tiny homes. Dolores legacy intertwined. Atlanta scholarship her name. Jordan's honor. Black queer artists funded. Exhibits touring. Seasons turned. Elmwood changed. Wind farms wearing fields, but square trees steadfast. Ornaments added yearly. Mia's wedding band replica. Sophia's first protest sign mini. Christmases morphed mosaic. Virtual kin worldwide, core gathering backyard. Now pavilion, lights strung eternal. Lasagna evolved. Vegan twists, Elena's spice infusions, Luca's gourmet layers. One Centennial Eve. Alex 100th lived, but spirit toasted. Mia raised glass. To the throw that taught. Love demands defense, but yields grace. Cheers echoed. Snow swirling confetti. Inside, stories spun fresh. New gens battles. Trans rights ally evolutions bridged by that first hook. The tale, splintered from splatter, wove eternal. Kith thriving. Romance remembered in rings past. Human warmth defying cold. In every bite, embrace, uprising. The fight back resounded, meaningful as dawn.